For over a century, Massachusetts has harbored a secret buried within its soil, a monument to madness and malevolence. Taunton State Hospital, its crumbling walls and shattered windows, stands as a grim reminder of humanity's darkest experiments. But the horrors within go beyond electroshock therapies and rusted restraints. Beneath its decaying floors, something ancient stirs, and it hungers. Tonight, we step into the asylum's cursed history. Listen closely. The walls still speak. Built in 1854, Taunton State Hospital was hailed as a beacon of progress for mental health. Its founders promised compassion, but the truth festered behind closed doors. Patients were subjected to ice baths that froze their screams, restraints that left bone-deep scars, and therapies that stripped them of their sanity. By the 1950s, the staff whispered of a black room in the basement where screams went silent. When the hospital shut down in 1975, it left behind more than dust. Locals reported phantom cries echoing from its walls. Children dared each other to touch its gates, claiming they felt a heartbeat in the iron. But the darkest rumors came from those who ventured inside. Symbols carved into floors, inverted crosses, and a stench of decay clung to their clothes. Decades later, leaked documents revealed disturbing admissions. Patients had scribbled warnings about the man with no face who roamed the halls at night. Doctors dismissed it as a delusion until one vanished, leaving behind only a lab coat stained with ash. In 1983, a group of teenagers broke into the asylum on a dare. Armed with flashlights, they descended into the basement. What they found defied reason. A stone altar crusted with dried blood, animal skulls arranged in a pentagram, and candles burned down to twisted stubs. One boy claimed the air turned viscous, as if the room itself were breathing. Days later, the teens returned with a priest. He refused to speak of what he saw, but warned them never to go back. When pressed, he muttered a single phrase. They opened a door. Soon after, the boy who'd touched the altar began sleepwalking, scribbling Latin phrases in his journal. His family moved away. The journal was found years later, its final entry reading one, "He is here, in the walls." Paranormal investigators would later uncover audio from that basement, a low, guttural growl repeating, "Veni, veni, veni, come, come, come." The voice didn't match any human language. It sounded hungry. In 2008, an urban explorer's camera captured something impossible. As he filmed the asylum's third-floor hallway, a shadow detached from the wall. It slithered across the ceiling, limbs elongating like smoke. The explorer fled, but the footage went viral. Experts called it a hoax. Those who studied it closely noticed something worse. The shadow had no face, but it had eyes. Years later, a paranormal team set up infrared cameras. They captured dozens of these figures, silent, still, always watching. The shadows clustered near the basement door, as if guarding it. One investigator swore she heard laughter when she played the footage back. But the most chilling detail? The shadows grew clearer with each visit, as if whatever they were was growing stronger. In 2016, investigators left voice recorders overnight. The playback revealed whispers in dead languages, sobs echoing from empty rooms, and a child's voice begging, "Don't let them take me." But one EVP stood out, a distorted voice reciting the Lord's Prayer backward. When translated, the final line hissed, "Deliver us to evil." The team returned to retrieve their equipment. As they entered, a recorder suddenly activated on its own. A new voice growled, "You are mine now." The temperature dropped 30 degrees. One member collapsed, clawing at his throat. Later, he'd find 3 scratch marks, a twisted parody of a trident, carved into his skin. To this day, the EVPs defy explanation. Some voices match patients who died decades ago. Others have no record of ever being human. In 2019, a YouTube occultist ignored the warnings. He live-streamed himself performing a cleansing ritual in the basement. Followers watched as he chanted Latin and sprinkled salt around the altar. Midway through, his camera glitched. When it stabilized, the symbols on the walls glowed crimson. A deep roar shook the room. The man screamed, "It's here! It's here!" before the feed cut out. Police found his equipment intact, but no trace of him. The video's metadata revealed an anomaly. 17 hours of extra footage deleted. Only one frame was recovered, a blurred figure with too many teeth standing behind him. Authorities called it a stunt. His followers knew better. They'd heard the voice in the static, "You will feed us." In 2021, a diary surfaced at an estate sale. Its author was Eleanor West, a Taunton patient who was admitted in 1962 for hysteria. Her entries grew increasingly frantic. "They take us to the black room. The man with no face drinks our tears." The final page held a sketch. A hooded figure surrounded by flames, its mouth sewn shut. Historians confirmed Eleanor died in the asylum, but the diary's last entry was dated 2003. Forensic analysis showed the ink was decades old. How? Investigators returned to her old room. Under peeling wallpaper, they found a message scrawled in charcoal. "I never left." That night, their thermal camera detected a cold spot in the shape of a woman sitting on the bed. In 2022, explorers discovered a hidden door in the basement, thick steel sealed with chains. When they cut the lock, the door creaked open on its own. Beyond it lay a tunnel, descending into pitch blackness. The air reeked of sulfur. Their flashlight beams dissolved after 10 feet, as if swallowed by the dark. One man ventured inside. His GoPro captured whispers growing louder, closer, until something screeched. The footage ends with the camera falling, its lens cracking. Rescuers found him unconscious, mumbling, "The eyes. So many eyes." He awoke with no memory of the tunnel, but his blood work showed anomalies. Foreign cells, unlike anything human. The door was welded shut days later, but locals claim on quiet nights you can hear hammering from below, as if something is trying to get out. Taunton State Hospital was demolished in 2023, or so the news claimed. Satellite images tell a different story. The structure remains untouched, as if the wrecking balls pass through it like ghosts. Those who approach swear the windows flicker with candlelight. Some hear a choir chanting in reverse. A security guard hired to patrol the site quit after one night. He described shadow figures following him, their footsteps out of sync with his own. His final report included a photo. A handprint burned into his car door, the skin bubbled and black. The print didn't match human anatomy. It had 6 fingers. The asylum still stands, and whatever dwells within grows impatient, waiting, watching, hungry. Taunton State Hospital's secrets are buried, but not dead. If you felt the chill of unseen eyes while watching this, you're not alone. Share this video, subscribe and ring the bell. The next horror awaits. And if you've witnessed the unexplained, send your story to email. Voices in the dark, shadows without source. We want to hear them all. But be warned, some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. Sleep well, or don't. After all, the night is never truly silent. High on a hill in Kentucky, a decaying monument to human suffering looms over the living. Waverly Hills Sanatorium, once a beacon of hope for tuberculosis patients, now stands as a tomb for the tormented. Thousands perished within its walls, their final breaths trapped in its corridors. But death was only the beginning. Shadow figures stalk its halls. Voices whisper from empty rooms. And deep below, a tunnel of corpses waits. Do you dare uncover what still walks these ruins? Built in 1910, Waverly Hills housed tuberculosis patients during an era when the White Plague had no cure. Over 8,000 souls died here. Rooms overflowed with the sick, their coughs echoing like death rattles. Nurses wheeled bodies away hourly, hiding the dead to spare the living's hope. But hope faded. Patients scribbled final letters in blood. Children drew pictures of the Shadow Man at their bedsides. The sanatorium's top floor, dubbed the Death Room, held rows of beds where patients gasped their last. Staff reported cold spots clinging to empty mattresses and sheets yanked off corpses by unseen hands. Even after closing in 1961, the air reeks of antiseptic and decay. Visitors claim the walls still sweat with fever, but the darkest secret lies underground. A concrete tunnel called the Body Chute, a hidden passage where corpses were smuggled to graves. Today, it pulses with whispers and something else. Room 502 is ground zero for Waverly's despair. In 1928, a nurse hanged herself there, pregnant and unwed. Years later, a second nurse leaped from its window, screaming, "It won't let me go!" Visitors feel hands shoving them near the doorway. EVPs capture sobs and the creak of a noose. Some claim the room's energy shifts violently. One investigator's camera malfunctioned as a shadowy form materialized behind him. When he fled, his audio recorder stayed behind, still running. It captured a woman's voice pleading, "Find my baby." But room 502 isn't the only tragedy. Patients reported a black-eyed nurse who vanished when approached. Her face matches no staff records. Was she ever human, or something that mimicked them? The Body Chute is a 500-foot tunnel slanting into the earth. Corpses were wheeled here to hide the death toll from panicked patients. Today, its walls drip with moisture, and the scent of rot clings to the air. Explorers hear dragging footsteps behind them. Flashlights reveal nothing until they flicker. In 2003, a team filmed a mist coalescing into a skeletal figure pushing a phantom gurney. The temperature dropped to freezing. One member collapsed, clawing at his throat. Later, he found handprints on his neck, small, child-sized. The chute's exit is sealed, but locals swear it's reopened at night. Security cameras show the door ajar at 3 a.m., with muddy wheel tracks leading back inside. Not all spirits here are vengeful. The ghost of a boy named Timmy haunts the 4th floor, laughing and bouncing a ball. Visitors bring toys to appease him. But beware, Timmy's games turn sinister. Cameras catch toys moving on their own. A voice whispers, "Stay and play forever." In 2017, a mother and daughter claimed Timmy led them to a hidden room. Inside, they found a crib and tiny handprints in the dust. As they left, the door slammed shut. The daughter's voice later appeared on EVP. "He's not alone in there." Some believe Timmy isn't a child at all. The sanatorium's records show no patients named Timmy. So who, or what, invites you to play? Waverly's corridors teem with shadow people. Tall, faceless, and hostile, they stalk visitors, vanishing when confronted. Thermal cameras show their forms radiate cold. In 2019, a live streamer filmed one lunging at his lens. The video froze, but audio captured a growl. "Mine." Paranormal teams set up motion sensors. They are triggered constantly in empty rooms. Reviewing the footage, they saw shadows darting faster than humanly possible. One investigator's photo revealed a silhouette inches behind him, its hand reaching for his neck. Locals refuse to enter after dark. They say the shadows grow bolder at night, and sometimes follow you home. Beneath Waverly lies a flooded morgue. Divers found autopsy tables still stained with blood and jars of preserved organs. Explorers wading here report hands brushing their ankles. One man's GoPro footage showed a corpse floating behind him, its eyes open and glowing. In 2021, investigators dropped a hydrophone into the water. It recorded knocking, 3 slow, 3 fast, the universal distress signal. But the morgue has been sealed for decades. Who's trapped below? The most chilling discovery? A locked drawer containing patient files marked Experiment 14. The pages were blank, except for fingerprints in blood. The 5th floor is a void. Light dies here. Visitors report breath on their necks and the click of heels on tile, though no one stands there. In 2015, a photographer captured a woman in 1940s garb staring from a window. Her face matches a nurse who vanished in 1948. Others encounter the creeper, a hunched figure crawling the halls, joints snapping backward. EVPs here scream, "Get out!" in multiple voices. One team's infrared camera revealed hundreds of glowing eyes in the darkness. But the floor's true horror is its silence. Microphones go dead, flashlights fail. You're left alone until you realize you're not. Waverly Hills isn't just haunted, it's alive. Walls bleed black fluid. Floors warp into human-like faces. Visitors hear the building breathe, a low, rhythmic groan. In 2020, engineers found no logical cause. It defies physics, one admitted. Some believe the sanatorium is a portal. A 1992 occult symbol carved into the chapel floor matches ancient texts describing doorways for hungry spirits. After midnight, shadows congeal into humanoid masses. They don't vanish, they watch. Demolition crews tried to destroy Waverly in 2001. Equipment failed. Workers fell ill. One man's final words, "The house is eating us." The site remains untouched, as if the building itself refuses to die. Waverly Hills Sanatorium's horrors are far from buried. If you felt the weight of unseen eyes, share this video. Subscribe, ring the bell, and join us as we unveil the next nightmare. Have you met the shadows? Heard Timmy's laugh? Send your stories to email, voices from the void, faces in the static. The truth is waiting, but tread carefully. Some places hunger for attention, and others hunger for you. In the shadow of Australia's gold rush glory lies a fortress of madness. Ararat Lunatic Asylum, its bluestone walls forged from greed and despair, once caged the most dangerous minds of the 19th century. But the criminals and the insane were not its only prisoners. Decades after its doors closed, screams still rupture the silence. Shadows pace empty cells, and those who dare enter swear the asylum hungers. Tonight, we unravel the curse of J. Ward. Listen closely. The walls are listening too. Built in 1861 as a prison for gold rush bandits, J. Ward's cells held killers and thieves in stone coffins. But by 1887, the screams grew louder, not from criminals, but the criminally insane. The prison became an asylum, its patients subjected to ice baths, electroshock, and restraints that left permanent grooves in the floors. Guards whispered of patients begging to be freed from the man in the walls. In 1925, a doctor's journal revealed horrifying entries. Patients clawing at their own throats, claiming something choked them at night. Autopsies showed fingernails embedded in their necks, self-inflicted yet impossible to replicate. The asylum closed in 1998, but its legacy festered. Visitors today hear chains rattling in empty cells and feel breath on their necks, in rooms no one has entered for decades. J. Ward's most infamous resident was William Wallace, a murderer who carved symbols into his cell walls to keep the shadows away. He died screaming in 1901, his body found contorted, bones shattered. Today, visitors report a rasping voice in his cell. They're coming through the stones. In 2003, a paranormal team filmed a full-bodied apparition in a straitjacket, pacing the hall. Thermal cameras showed its body temperature, minus 10 degrees Celsius. When they called out, the figure turned, its face a blurred void. The audio recorder captured a growl, "You'll stay with us." But the true horror lies in the silence. Microphones go dead, flashlights fail, and when the light returns, you're never alone. In 1992, a historian cataloguing J. Ward's archives fled the building, claiming the walls shrieked when touched. Others since have heard it, a chorus of wails embedded in the stone, as if the asylum itself remembers its victims. EVPs captured disjointed pleas, "No more needles," and "Burn it down." In 2017, a YouTuber pressed his ear to a cell wall and recoiled, his ear bleeding. Doctors found no physical cause. That night, his camera rolled alone, capturing a voice. "You shouldn't have listened." The bluestone, geologists say, shouldn't resonate sound, yet the screams persist. Are they echoes of the past, or warnings from something still trapped within? Shadow figures stalk J. Ward's corridors, their forms denser than darkness. They cluster near cell 17, where a patient named the sculptor molded flesh-like figures from asylum food. Guards burned his creations, but visitors still find them, dolls of rot and hair hidden in corners. In 2015, a photographer captured a shadow lunging at her lens. The figure's outline matched patient records. Thomas Green, a cannibal who butchered inmates in 1893. His corpse was dismembered and buried in the walls. Thermal scans reveal these shadows radiate heat, not cold, as if they're not spirits, but something alive, surviving in the cracks of reality. J. Ward's basement holds a door sealed with iron rivets. Inmate records mention the quiet room, a punishment chamber where screams went silent. Explorers who opened it in 2008 found symbols carved into the floor, inverted crosses, and a language older than Latin. One man stepped inside. The door slammed shut. When found hours later, he muttered, "They're under the floor," before biting off his tongue. The room was welded shut, but night guards hear scratching, and a voice gargling, "Let us taste the light." J. Ward's infirmary mirrors reflect more than emptiness. Visitors see figures behind them, patients in soiled gowns, mouths stitched shut. Touch the glass, and your breath fogs the reflection, but not theirs. In 2020, a psychic medium shattered a mirror, screaming, "They're crawling through!" Shards later reassembled themselves. Photographers captured faces in the glass, their eyes weeping black fluid. The asylum's logs mention a nurse who drowned herself in a wash basin after patients swore, "The mirrors ate her." Her ghost still wrings water from her hair, but the water is always thick and red. Security guards refuse to patrol J. Ward alone. One man's 2013 shift ended in madness. His body cam showed shadow figures swarming him, their hands clawing his face. He fired his flashlight like a weapon, screaming, "Get back to the walls!" Rescuers found him catatonic, his skin icy. He awoke days later, whispering, "They showed me the tunnels, the ones made of bones." The asylum's blueprints show no tunnels, but ground-penetrating radar detected hollow spaces, shaped like human bodies. J. Ward's kitchen reeks of burnt meat, though no fire has burned there for decades. EVPs pick up wet chewing sounds and a voice slurring, "Almost tender enough." In 2019, vloggers found a rusted meat cleaver embedded in a table, still warm. Historical records reveal a patient dubbed the Butcher, who vanished in 1912. His cell was found smeared with fat and teeth. Today, visitors feel teeth grazing their ankles in the kitchen. Some leave with bite marks and a craving for raw meat. Ararat Lunatic Asylum's horrors are not relics, they're alive. If the silence after this video feels heavier, Share it. Subscribe and heed the bell. Darkness awaits. Have you heard J. Ward's screams? Felt its teeth? Send your stories to email. Whispers in static, faces in stone. We dare you to prove they're not real. But be warned, some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. Sleep tight, or don't. The asylum never does.